The icy female CEO actually kissed me, right in front of him. Everyone thought I was just someone Liu Ruyan used to provoke. Her boyfriend, a pathetic pawn. Even I believed it. Until that 50-day relationship contract finally ended. I forced a smile and wished her and the ex who had finally admitted he was wrong a lifetime of happiness. That aloof goddess, always so untouchable, clung desperately to the hem of my clothes, her eyes red. Her voice shook beyond recognition. Zhu Qing, you said when I was hurting, you would always stay by my side. Can you please not leave? I did not turn back. I only coldly pried her fingers loose, because she would never know that this absurd contract game was, amid my hopeless unrequited love, a desperate wager with all my dignity on the line. Only, I thought I had lost the bet. I will never forget that afternoon. Wind swept through the corridor, carrying the stifling heat of high summer. As the company's most unnoticed intern, I was merely carrying a stack of files past the executive office lounge. But I never expected to stumble upon the argument between the company's most watched golden couple, Liu Ruyan, our university's universally acknowledged ice queen. Now, she was also the company's parachuted and intern director. She was biting hard on her lower lip, her eyes faintly red as she stared at the man before her. And that man, her official boyfriend, Guzi, was idly playing with his car keys, a deeply contemptuous sneer on his lips. Liu Ruyan, are you done making a scene? I told you, I have plans with the guys tonight. Cannot we make up our anniversary tomorrow? Do you have to make such a fuss? Guzi's voice was thick with impatience. Making a scene? Guzi, this is the 5th time this month you've stood me up. There was a hint of barely noticeable tremor in Liu Ruyan's voice. Then, what do you want? Break up? Guzi scoffed. He was certain this woman, so deeply in love with him, could never leave him. Fine. If you can find any man right now to prove you do not care about me, I will agree to break up immediately. Just then, Liu Ruyan's gaze suddenly passed over Guzi's shoulder and landed directly on me, frozen where I stood. In that instant, it felt as if fate had struck me. Before I could react, a breeze carrying a faint jasmine scent rushed toward me. Liu Ruyan strode up to me, grabbed my tie, and before Guzi's stunned eyes, rose onto her tiptoes and fiercely pressed her soft lips to mine. My mind went completely blank. The files in my hands scattered across the floor. Did you see that clearly? Guzi, we are over. Liu Ruyan released me, then turned toward the livid Guzi. Her voice was ice-cold. Guzi glared at me, then laughed in fury. Fine, Liu Ruyan, you have some nerve. Let us see how long you can keep using this worthless intern to put on this act. With that, he slammed the door and stormed out. Only she and I remained in the corridor. The resolve in Liu Ruyan's eyes instantly crumbled. She leaned warily against the wall. She did not even look at me. She only coldly said, 10 tonight. Come find me in the archives on the 12th floor. The main lights were off in the archives late that night. Only neon light from outside filtered through the blinds, cutting across Liu Ruyan's delicate face. In alternating bands of shadow and light, she slid a fresh sheet of paper toward me. The bold words love contract were printed across it. Term, 50 days. Be there whenever I call. Play the role of my boyfriend properly. Drive Guzi away. In return, after your internship ends, I will offer you a full-time position. Her tone was all business, as if we were discussing some insignificant transaction. I looked at the cold terms on the page. It felt as though an invisible hand had clenched my heart. She did not know that I had loved her in secret for 3 whole years. Since that breathtaking glimpse of her in the university library, too humbly following in her footsteps into this company. Are those all the conditions? I raised my head, looking straight into her eyes, struggling to suppress the tremor in my voice. Liu Ruyan paused, slightly taken aback. What else do you want? I picked up a pen and wrote 2 lines in the blank space. First, you are not allowed to cry alone late at night. Second, if you are in danger during the contract, I must be the first person you call. After writing that, I signed my name, Zhu Qing. I smiled at her, swallowing that bitterness deep inside. Since it was only an act, then I would play along with you, even if I was shattered to pieces in the end. During the first week of our contract relationship, I began seriously fulfilling a boyfriend's duties. I knew Liu Ruyan had severe stomach problems, yet she always forgot to eat because of work. Every day at 7:30 in the morning, without fail, I would place warm pumpkin and millet porridge on her desk. I knew she hated the smell of smoke and alcohol at business dinners. So, whenever she was forced to attend a drinking event, I bought hangover medicine and hot milk in advance, and waited silently for her in the cold wind outside the company. At first, Liu Ruyan found my actions unwelcome and uncomfortable. Qing, the contract does not say you need to do these unnecessary things. She looked at the hot milk in her hand, its temperature just right, and frowned slightly. But, for a proper boyfriend, this is instinct. I looked at her, my gaze calm yet unwavering. I was not lying. It truly was instinct. The instinct of someone who had secretly loved her for 3 years, after suppressing it through countless days and nights, finally able to let it all pour out openly. The change came on Friday evening. The company dinner was held at a noisy Hotpot restaurant. As the department manager, Guzi, naturally sat at the head table. That day, he brought a new female companion. All evening, he deliberately flirted with her, yet his eyes kept drifting toward Liu Ruyan, full of provocation. Liu Ruyan's face was pale, her knuckles whitened around her chopsticks, just as Guzi deliberately spoke loudly about how he had once taken an ex-girlfriend to Paris to see the snow. I suddenly reached out and gently took Liu Ruyan's icy hand beneath the table. Her whole body stiffened. She instinctively tried to pull away, but I held on tighter. "Do not be afraid. I am here." I leaned close to her ear and whispered in a voice only the two of us could hear. Then, I casually took her bowl and replaced the dish before her that she could not touch, the extra spicy beef tripe with vegetables from the clear broth. Then I carefully poured a cup of warm water and set it by her hand. Ryan's stomach has not been well lately. She cannot eat spicy food. Since Manager Gu cares so much about his ex, perhaps you should pay more attention to the taste of this new friend beside you. I raised my head and met Guzi's furious gaze, my lips curling into a cold, defiant smile. At that moment, the atmosphere in the private room froze. Guzi gripped his wine glass tightly, his knuckles white with force. He never imagined that an intern usually so meek would dare humiliate him in public. After dinner, a heavy downpour suddenly began. Guzi pulled his Porsche up to the entrance and rolled down the window. In a faintly patronizing tone, he said to Liu Ruyan, "Get in. You will not get a cab here. Do not count on that intern boyfriend of yours, who cannot even afford an umbrella." Liu Ruyan bit her lip, about to argue back, but I took off my black trench coat instead and wrapped it tightly around Liu Ruyan's slight shoulders. The coat still held my body heat, instantly enveloping her. "No need to trouble yourself, Manager Gu. My girlfriend, I will take home myself." I opened the clear umbrella I had run to the convenience store to buy moments earlier. I sheltered most of Liu Ruyan beneath it, while one of my shoulders was exposed to the driving rain. Under Guzi's nearly murderous stare, we held each other and walked into the rainy night. When we reached the corner, Liu Ruyan suddenly stopped. She looked at the half of my shoulder soaked through by rain, a complex emotion flashing in her eyes. "You know perfectly well this is only an act. Why are you taking it so seriously?" Her voice seemed distant in the rain. I looked at her face, framed by the trench coat, which made her look even more petite. I gave a bitter smile. "If we are acting, we should make it convincing, should we not?" She did not know that in the pocket of that trench coat was something I had run 3 blocks to buy. A limited edition matcha from her favorite shop. Love is like a cough. You cannot hide it. As time passed, a subtle chemistry began to bloom between Liu Ruyan and me. When she was tired, she began to habitually rest against my shoulder for a nap. When she had good milk tea, she naturally began holding it to my lips for me to taste. All of it was noticed by Liu Ruyan's best friend, Lin Xiaoxiao. Lin Xiaoxiao worked in the same department as us. She usually looked sweet and harmless, calling her Ruyan more affectionately than anyone. But after Liu Ruyan and I got together, I could clearly sense that her gaze toward me held deep jealousy and calculation. She envied Liu Ruyan for having Guzi as such a dazzling ex. She envied Liu Ruyan even more because even a random stand-in could be so completely devoted to her. One day at noon, Liu Ruyan went upstairs for a meeting. I stayed at my desk organizing documents. Lin Xiaoxiao came over carrying 2 cups of coffee. She set one of them on my desk, wearing an innocent smile. "Qing, you have worked hard taking care of Ruyan lately, but honestly, do not get too caught up in it." She lowered her voice, her tone casually probing. "Ruyan has always had eyes only for Guzi. You are only a tool she uses to provoke. Guzi, once they get back together. How humiliating will that be for you? My fingers froze over the keyboard. I looked up at her coldly. Lin Xiaoxiao. Lin Xiaoxiao. What happens between Ruyan and me is not for an outsider like you to meddle in. My voice was quiet, but laced with bone-deep frost. Lin Xiaoxiao flinched at my stare. Then her smile twisted. Qing, who are you trying to fool with this act of devotion? Do you really think Sister Ruyan could ever want a poor student like you? I saw that contract with my own eyes. My heart dropped. As for the contract, apart from Liu Ruyan and me, no third person could possibly know about it, unless she had secretly searched through Liu Ruyan's drawer. What are you trying to do? I rose to my feet, towering over her as I glared. I am not trying to do anything. Lin Xiaoxiao stepped back, a vicious gleam flashing in her eyes. I just think a good man like Guzi should not be deceived by the two of you. What if I photocopied that contract and posted it on the company bulletin board? Would Sister Ruyan's icy, untouchable image come crashing down? What would Guzi think of her then? I seized her wrist, gripping so hard I nearly crushed her bones. Let go. Qing, you are hurting me. Lin Xiaoxiao shrieked. Just then, the office door was pushed open. Guzi stood in the doorway, his face dark. He had clearly heard the commotion. Behind him was Liu Ruyan, just back from her meeting. Qing, what are you doing? Let Xiaoxiao go. Liu Ruyan hurried over and shoved me away. Lin Xiaoxiao's eyes immediately reddened. She slipped behind Liu Ruyan, her voice choked with tears. Sister Ruyan, I only kindly told Qing not to get too caught up in the act. He suddenly lost his temper and even said he would hit me. I watched Liu Ruyan shield Lin Xiaoxiao, and it felt as though a needle pierced my heart. Ruyan, she snooped through. I was just about to explain. Enough. Liu Ruyan cut me off. Weariness and disappointment flickered in her eyes. Xiaoxiao is my best friend. I will not allow you to treat her this way. Apologize to her. I stood frozen. I stared in disbelief at the girl before me. The girl I would have protected with my life. Guzi gave a derisive snort nearby, as if mocking me, a ridiculous clown, for not knowing my place. What if I do not apologize? I locked my gaze on Liu Ruyan's eyes. Liu Ruyan avoided my gaze. Her tone icy. The contract states it clearly. You are required to follow my arrangements. If you cannot even respect my friend, then our contract has no reason to continue. The sunlight outside was painfully bright, yet I felt cold to the bone. So that was it. On her scales, her contract boyfriend, could never outweigh her so-called friendship. Fine. I understand. I took a deep breath, forcing down the tearing pain in my chest. I did not spare Lin Xiaoxiao another glance, nor did I acknowledge Guzi's smug expression. I turned and strode out of the office. Liu Ruyan, if this is the choice you want, then I will grant it to you. I only hope that, when you see the true face of the venomous snake beside you, you will not come crying to me. After leaving the CEO's office, the wind in the hallway was still stifling, but it could no longer reach my heart. I went straight back to my desk, pulled out my chair, and sat down. My computer screen was still lit. On it was the proposal I had spent 3 sleepless nights preparing for Liu. Group South City Development Project. I did not save it. I simply hit delete, then emptied the recycle bin. Then, I opened the bottom drawer and took out the photocopy of that dating contract. There it was in black and white. Every clause was a resounding slap in the face, mocking my unrequited devotion of the past 3 years. I stood, walked to the shredder in the corner of the office, and fed the contract into it. As the machine swallowed it with a dull growl, that paper carrying all my dignity and humiliation was instantly reduced to countless scraps that could never be reassembled. Just like my feelings for Liu Ruyan, shattered completely, leaving nothing behind. Qing, have you lost your mind? Lin Xiaoxiao had come over without my noticing. She sneered at me. Did Sister Ruyan shut you down? So now you are taking it out on company equipment? You should hurry up and apologize to Sister Ruyan. Maybe she will soften up and let you stay. As her little errand boy, I ignored her, walked back to my desk, grabbed a sheet of A4 paper, and typed the words, resignation letter, printed it, signed it, all in one swift motion. I picked up my resignation letter and strode toward Liu Ruyan's office. The door was ajar. Liu Ruyan and Guzi's voices came from inside. Ruyan, that poor student just has a temper. Why bother with him? Once he walks out that door, he will not even be able to afford food. Guzi's voice dripped with smugness. Let him go. Liu Ryan's voice remained cool, filled with lofty certainty. I have spoiled him too much. He is just plain hard to get. Where could someone like him possibly go? Within 3 days, he will come back and beg me. I stopped outside the door, a mocking smile tugging at my lips. Within 3 days? Liu Ryan, you overestimate yourself and underestimate me. I raised my foot and kicked the half-closed door open. Bang! The two of them turned around at once. Liu Ryan's brow furrowed slightly. She was just about to scold me, but I had already slammed my resignation letter down hard on her desk. You do not have to wait 3 days. I met her stunned gaze, my voice so calm that it surprised even me. Liu Ryan, I am done playing along this lousy company. I am done working for this damn company. With that, I did not look at her again. I turned and strode away, out of Liu Group's building. The moment I stepped through the revolving doors, the glaring sunlight made me squint. I took a deep breath. For the first time, my lungs were no longer filled with that oppressive, suffocating chill. A black Maybach silently pulled up before me. The window slowly rolled down, revealing a breathtakingly beautiful face with a dangerous edge. Crimson lips, gold-rimmed glasses, eyes sharp as blades. The CEO of Shen Group, Shen Xingyu, Liu Group's biggest rival in the industry, and a bona fide stunning, ultra-wealthy woman. Mr. Zhu, it seems you have finally escaped that childish game. Shen Xingyu rested one hand on the steering wheel, a teasing smile curling her lips. Get in. I raised an eyebrow, opened the door, and got into the passenger seat. How did you know I would resign, Miss Shen? Shen Xingyu handed me a thick file, her voice crisp and decisive. I only value people who are worth something. The proposal Liu Group submitted last month for the South City Development's initial plan may have Guzi's name on it, but I had someone examine the underlying data modeling logic. That kind of exceptionally rigorous analysis is beyond an idiot like Guzi. In all of Liu Group, only you, Zhu Qing, have that ability. I opened the file. It was an employment contract. Director of Project Planning, Shen Group. I looked at the position listed, then looked up at her. Ms. Shen, I am only an intern who just resigned. That is an awfully generous offer. Shen Xingyu, never make a losing deal. She stomped on the accelerator, and the car shot into traffic like an arrow. What I want is what is in your head. Liu Ryan was blind when she treated you like a tool. But with me, you are the strategist who can help me win the South City Development. An annual salary of 3 million yuan, plus project dividends. Sign it, and you are part of Shen Group. I looked at the string of numbers on the contract. Liu Ryan's cold expression flashed through my mind. She had forced me to apologize to Lin Xiaoxiao. I pulled out the fountain pen I carried with me, and in the Party B signature line, signed my name in a bold flourish. A pleasure doing business with you, Director Zhu. Shen Xingyu gave a soft laugh. You have 1 week to get familiar with the team. Next Friday, there will be an elite industry networking gala. Liu Group will be there too. When the time comes, I will show you what the real world of power and wealth looks like. The week flew by. During that week at Shen Group, like a sponge, I soaked up every core resource I could access. Shen Xingyu gave me absolute authority. No Guzi stealing my credit, no Lin Xiaoxiao plotting against me, and no more of Liu Ryan's hot and cold charity. In 3 days, I rebuilt the funding model for South City Development's capital chain. It directly raised Shen Group's odds of winning the bid by 3 percentage points. Friday evening, Shen Xingyu's personal stylist gave me a complete makeover from head to toe. When I stood before the full-length mirror in a perfectly tailored, custom black suit, wearing a Patek Philippe watch, even I could barely recognize the man in the mirror. A man with a cold, razor-sharp presence. The intern's cheap shirt was gone. So, was that poor, servile air of desperate people-pleasing. Now, there was only ambition in my eyes. Let us go. My companion, Shen Xingyu, wore a midnight, blue evening gown with a plunging neckline. She looped her arm through mine. Tonight, let those blind fools take a good look. 8 that evening, the ballroom at Shanghai International Hotel. A waiter respectfully pushed open the grand doors. The brilliant light from crystal chandeliers poured down. Shen Xingyu and I entered side by side. The once boisterous ballroom fell briefly silent. Every gaze turned toward us. Shen Xingyu, the business world's acknowledged Iron Lady, had always attended alone. This was the first time she had brought a male companion to a public event. I lifted my chin slightly, my gaze sweeping the room, before settling on the lounge reserved for the inner circle. Liu Ruyan wore a custom white evening gown, chatting with executives with her arm through Guzi's. Like an attendant, Lin Xiaoxiao held a wine glass as she stood behind them. The instant she saw my face, Liu Ruyan's polished smile froze completely. Her eyes locked onto me. They traveled from my impeccably groomed hair, over the custom suit she once believed I could never afford in my lifetime, then finally to Shen Xingyu's arm entwined with mine. I clearly saw, in her once arrogant eyes, a flash of stunned disbelief, followed by panic, as if something inside her had shattered. I did not avoid her gaze. I merely gave her an indifferent glance, as if she were a stranger with nothing to do with me, then calmly looked away. Your tie is a little crooked. Noticing their stares, Shen Xingyu suddenly stopped. She turned naturally, facing me, and raised her pale fingers to gently straighten my tie knot. She stood very close. Her warm breath brushed my jaw. A faintly coquettish pout touched her lips. Director Zhu, tonight, you are here to make me look good. Do not make me look bad. I lowered my head to look at her, a gentle smile curving my lips. Do not worry, Miss Shen. I will make sure you are satisfied. To everyone in the ballroom, we looked like a perfectly matched, inseparable power couple. A sharp crack of shattering glass rang out nearby. I glanced over from the corner of my eye. The champagne glass in Liu Ruyan's hand had been crushed in her grip. Sharp shards had cut into her pale palm. Dark red blood ran through her fingers, dripping onto the white carpet. The sight was shocking, yet she seemed unable to feel the pain. She only stared at me intently, jealousy and rage coiling like venomous snakes in her eyes. Her chest rose and fell violently. Guzi had clearly noticed Liu Ruyan's loss of composure. He followed her gaze to me, and his face darkened at once, watching the woman in his arms fall apart publicly over a stand-in. The jealous fire in his eyes nearly burst forth. He abruptly snatched the wineglass from Lin Xiaoxiao's hand and gave a cold snort. Taking Lin Xiaoxiao with him, he aggressively pushed through the crowd and headed straight toward Shen Xingyu and me. Zhu King, you became a kept man awfully fast. Before Guzi even reached us, his deliberately raised, mocking voice had already carried across the room. Well, is this not the stand-in Ms. Liu discarded? Holding a wineglass, Guzi swaggered up to us. His deliberately loud voice instantly drew the attention of the industry leaders nearby. He looked me up and down, taking in my custom suit, with undisguised mockery on his lips. What? Could not get anything from running errands at Liu Group. So, you immediately latched onto Miss Shen and started living off her? Zhu King, you really have no backbone. Lin Xiaoxiao clung tightly to Guzi's side, covering her mouth as she chimed in sweetly. Zhu King, I know you are bitter because Sister Ruyan kicked you out, but you cannot seek revenge by using such shameless means to attach yourself to someone powerful. Miss Shen handles serious business. You are only an intern who cannot even understand a financial statement. Do not disgrace Shen Group. The murmurs around us gradually grew louder. Several probing, contemptuous gazes fell on me. I did not get angry. I merely looked calmly at the two clowns before me. Cannot even understand financial statements? I gave a cold laugh, gently slipping free of Shen Xingyu's arm, and walked straight toward the enormous LED presentation screen at the center of the ballroom. What are you doing? Exposed, so now you want to cause a scene? Guzi frowned and barked sharply. I ignored him completely. I simply asked the technician at the control booth to lend me an adapter cable, then connected my phone to the big screen. The massive screen lit up at once. An unbelievably detailed funding chain projection model for the South City land parcel appeared before everyone's eyes. I grabbed the microphone and turned around, my blade-sharp gaze sweeping over Guzi's stunned face. Manager Gu, since you think I am a useless man living off a woman, why do we not discuss the project you are so proud of, the South City land parcel? I opened one of the data points. My voice was steady and forceful, echoing through the entire ballroom. In the initial proposal you submitted, you raised the leverage ratio for Phase 3 to 80%. You think it is a shortcut to high returns. Guzi's face changed, but he forced himself to shout. This was assessed by a professional team. What the hell do you know? Professional. I cut him off mercilessly, my fingers quickly scrolling across the screen to pull up another set of comparative data. Under your model, if the construction materials market sees a fluctuation of more than 3 percentage points, or bank financing is delayed by over a week, Liu Group's funding chain will collapse completely by the second month. Not only will the South City project be left unfinished, the entire Liu Group's cash flow will be dragged under. The room fell utterly silent. Every industry leader stopped talking, staring intently at the projections on the screen. You only saw the policy incentives, while ignoring the underlying risk control logic. I advanced on Guzi step by step, my fierce gaze making him instinctively step back. It is riddled with flaws. It is financial suicide. With a garbage proposal like this, you think you are in any position to talk about your worth with me? You are talking nonsense. All color drained from Guzi's face. Fine beads of cold sweat formed on his forehead. Even the wine glass in his hand began to shake. Whether I am talking nonsense or not, the esteemed people here can judge for themselves. I dropped the microphone and looked at him coldly. A wave of hushed exclamations rose from the crowd. Several banking executives shook their heads at the flaws on the screen. The looks they gave Guzi had changed from mere curiosity to outright ridicule. Guzi's face was ashen. He had lost all face. He stood there like a clown stripped bare. Qing. A trembling voice came from beside me. I turned around and saw Liu Ruyan biting down hard on her bloodless lower lip. Her eyes were red as she looked at me. She watched me shine beneath the spotlight. Watch me use my exceptional expertise to crush Guzi beneath my feet. Shock and regret churned in her eyes, along with a trace of indescribable heartache. When she saw Guzi targeting me, her heart gave a violent tremor. Instinctively, she stepped forward in her heels, trying to shield me. Liu Ruyan turned around, her voice shaking uncontrollably. I know Qing's capabilities better than anyone. Do not make a fool of yourself here. After saying that, she turned back and reached for my sleeve. Her voice held a humility even she had not noticed. Qing, I am sorry. I did not know they would say such things about you. Come with me. I will explain it to them for you. I looked coldly at the hand reaching for me, not even bothering to evade it. Before Liu Ruyan could touch my clothes, a gust scented with a crisp, icy fragrance swept past. Shen Xingyu strode over in 5-inch red-soled heels, imperiously placing herself before me. She stood tall, her presence overwhelming. She forced Liu Ruyan half a step back. Explain. What right do you have, Ms. Liu, to explain yourself to my man? Shen Xingyu's red lips parted slightly. Behind her gold-rimmed glasses, her gaze was glacial. Liu Ruyan's face went pale, her voice dry. Ms. Shen, this is between Qing and me. Let me correct you. Shen Xingyu gave a cold laugh, looping her arm tightly through mine. She pressed close to me, as if staking her claim. Qing is now Shen Group's project director. Since you did not value my man, Ms. Liu, and threw him out as a worthless substitute, then keep your distance now. Shen Xingyu lifted her chin slightly and looked down at Liu Ruyan. Qing's worth now is beyond what your Liu Group could ever hope to afford. Liu Ruyan shuddered violently, as if struck by lightning. She stared blankly at me, as though waiting for me to deny it. But I merely stood calmly at Shen Xingyu's side, silently confirming it all. In that moment, I clearly saw the light in Liu Ruyan's eyes go out completely. She looked as though she had fallen into an icy abyss. Her body swayed, on the verge of collapse. She could only grip the edge of the nearby table tightly to remain standing. At last, she understood. She had completely lost the right to stand beside me. At this banquet, Liu Group became the industry's biggest joke. I did not spare Liu Ruyan another glance. Arm in arm with Shen Xingyu, I left calmly beneath everyone's awestruck gazes. However, the storm was only beginning. The morning after the banquet, I had just entered Shen Group's offices. When the market data began to swing violently, Liu Group's stock suddenly plummeted. It hit the maximum daily loss limit at market open. Then, an explosive story swept through the business world. Liu Group's core South City land parcel secrets had been maliciously leaked. Their competitors had already obtained every crucial detail, just as outsiders were speculating about who had stabbed them in the back. Inside Liu Group, reports emerged of an even more shocking development. Xiaoxiao broke down in tears at the board meeting and produced a thick stack of evidence. Internet protocol login records, transfer details, and email correspondence. Every piece of evidence pointed with pinpoint accuracy at me, the man who had just resigned. The frosted glass door to Shen Group's top-floor conference room was shoved open violently, slamming hard into the wall. With a deafening bang, I lifted my gaze from the market board, where every index was flashing red. Liu Ruyan stood in the doorway, her chest heaving violently, her hair disheveled. Her eyes were bloodshot, like a trapped beast driven into a corner. She stormed toward me in her heels. She viciously hurled a thick stack of documents onto my desk. Papers scattered across the floor. Qing, do you really hate me that much? Liu Ruyan braced both hands on my desk, staring me down. Her voice was so hoarse it nearly cracked. Even if I did not protect you, even if I let you suffer, then come after me. Why did you have to destroy Liu Group? Why did you have to destroy everything I worked for? I leaned back in my chair, my gaze calmly sweeping over the scattered documents. The top page clearly displayed fabricated IP login, records, and overseas account transfer details. The trail of every payment pointed precisely to my name. Ruyan, do not get so worked up. You need to take care of yourself. Xiaoxiao hurried in right behind her, hypocritically taking Liu Ruyan's arm. When she turned to look at me, her eyes flashed with barely concealed malice and smug delight. Qing, the evidence is conclusive. What can you possibly say in your defense? You stole the South City land parcels, core secrets, and sold them to our competitor. That is a crime. Guzi sauntered in as well, his hands in his pockets, a cold smirk on his lips. Let's see how you get out of this one. Shen Group cannot protect a corporate spy, can they? I looked at the three people before me, and suddenly found it utterly absurd. For 3 years, I had protected this woman with all my heart. When her company was fighting for its survival, she could not even be bothered to investigate. Based on a few forged scraps of paper, she had rushed over to condemn me. Liu Ruyan, I finally spoke. My voice held no emotion, cold as ice. In your eyes, am I, Qing, the kind of man who, for revenge, would stop at nothing, a complete scumbag? Liu Ruyan trembled all over. Tears instantly spilled from her eyes. Biting her lower lip, she pointed at the transfer records on my desk. The IP address is your workstation. The account is in your name. How am I supposed to believe you? You have disappointed me so much. Disappointed. The corner of my mouth twitched. I had completely lost even the desire to explain. I merely watched her in silence, as though she were a ridiculous clown. I did not say a word. That utter indifference only deepened the panic in Liu Ruyan's eyes. Say something. Deny it. Liu Ruyan screamed, herself hoarse. She reached for my collar. Just then, a crisp, rapid click of high heels sounded outside the conference room. Bang! The doors were thrown open again. Xingyu entered with several sharply dressed senior legal executives, striding in with decisive purpose. She did not even glance at Guzi or Xiaoxiao. She walked straight up to Liu Ruyan. She raised a blue folder in her hand, and without the slightest courtesy, slammed it straight into Liu Ruyan's face. The folder struck hard. Liu Ruyan's head snapped to the side. A red mark instantly appeared on her pale face. Liu Ruyan, are you an idiot? Xingyu looked down at her, her gaze utterly icy. You let someone use you as a weapon, then came running to my territory to make trouble. You are so stupid. It is laughable. Xingyu, what are you doing? Guzi's expression changed drastically. He rushed forward to protect Liu Ruyan. The bodyguard behind Xingyu stepped forward sharply. He pinned Guzi hard against the wall. Xingyu, you are shielding a criminal. Xiaoxiao screamed. We have proof Qing leaked the secrets. Proof. Xingyu sneered. She turned and walked to the control console. Then barked. Technical department. Cut off Liu Group's internal network. Broadcast everything we prepared. Live across the internet. Yes, ma'am. The moment President Shen finished speaking, the enormous LED screen at the front of the conference room lit up. The upper right corner showed. This was not merely an internal meeting. The signal had been connected directly to the financial channel's live broadcast feed. The joint press conference, live-streamed online, had officially begun. Open your damn eyes and look carefully. See who has really been betraying Liu Group. Xingyu's slender fingers struck the keyboard hard. On the screen, a high-definition surveillance clip, digitally restored by technical experts, appeared at once. The timestamp in the upper right corner showed late Wednesday night last week. In Liu Group's deserted office, a furtive figure crept up to my workstation. She expertly entered the password, inserted a flash drive into my computer, then quickly copied something. When the figure turned her face, the camera clearly captured her features. It was Xiaoxiao. No, that is impossible. I clearly deleted that footage. Xiaoxiao let out a shriek. Her face went white as paper. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed to the floor. Liu Ruyan whipped around. She stared in disbelief at Lin Xiaoxiao on the floor, her lips trembling uncontrollably. Xiaoxiao, do not rush. There is more to come. Shen Xingyu cut her off coldly, switching the screen again. This time, it displayed a highly confidential map of offshore money flows. After Lin Xiaoxiao stole the secrets, she sent them through encrypted email to an overseas shell company, and the shell company's true controlling owner. Shen Xingyu's blade-sharp gaze shot toward Guzi, pinned against the wall. It is you, Manager Gu. That 50 million in dirty money was laundered through 7 transactions. Before finally reaching Guzi's private offshore account, Shen Xingyu hurled a stack of officially stamped bank statements into Guzi's face, forging IP records, framing an innocent man. You are quite skilled at getting others to do your dirty work. Too bad. You crossed Shen Group's top hacker team. The evidence is irrefutable. Guzi's face turned ashen. His whole body began shaking like a leaf. He could not utter a single word in his defense. No, it is not like this. Liu Ruyan staggered back to steps, as if every ounce of strength had been drained from her. The best friend she had desperately defended, and the ex-lover she had once loved deeply, were the 2 scumbags who had secretly conspired to destroy all she had worked for. And yet, she had taken the fabricated evidence from those 2 scum, and come here like a madwoman to accuse the only person who had never betrayed her. Liu Ruyan stiffly turned her head toward me, silent in my chair the entire time. At that moment, I clearly saw it in her eyes. Her pride, self-respect, and reason collapsed in an instant, shattering into fragments at her feet. Zhu Qing. She reached a trembling hand toward me, her voice filled with endless regret and fear. I am sorry. I truly did not know. I still said nothing. I merely looked away from her coldly. You know you were wrong now. Too late. Shen Xingyu mercilessly cut off Liu Ruyan's remorse. She opened the final folder on the screen. A set of extremely complex, meticulous crisis public relations plans and backup cash flow models instantly filled the screen. Liu Ruyan, do you know what this is? Shen Xingyu pointed at the screen, her tone dripping with mockery. Liu Ruyan stared blankly at the screen, at those familiar data structures. Tears burst forth like a broken dam. Before Zhu Qing left his job, he stayed up for 3 straight nights, working until his stomach illness flared up, to build this final line of defense for you. Shen Xingyu's voice rang out with force, echoing through every corner of the conference room. He knew that idiot Guzi would cause trouble sooner or later, so he encrypted this foundational defense plan and embedded it in Liu Group's main server. If you had trusted him even a little, if you had checked the backup email address he left you when the crisis hit, Liu Group would never have ended up like this. Shen Xingyu walked up to Liu Ruyan, her eyes full of pity and disdain. He gave you his whole heart, and you threw it to the ground and trampled on it. You would rather trust venomous snakes than the man who risked his life to protect you. Liu Ruyan, you are truly pathetic. Those words were like a razor-sharp blade, piercing what remained of Liu Ruyan's heart. No, do not say any more. Please, stop. Liu Ruyan covered her ears and broke down in wrenching sobs. Her knees gave out, and she dropped to her knees before my desk with a thud. Outside the door, police sirens wailed closer. Shen Group's legal team had already called the police. Several officers rushed into the conference room and immediately handcuffed the ashen-faced Guzi and the limp Lin Xiaoxiao lying on the floor. Ruyan, save me. I do not want to go to prison. Lin Xiaoxiao struggled wildly, crying out to Liu Ruyan for help. But Liu Ruyan was like a soulless puppet, deaf to Lin Xiaoxiao's desperate pleas. Her gaze remained fixed on me, in those once aloof eyes, always so cold and distant. There was now only overwhelming guilt, regret, and suffocating pain. She lifted her head humbly, her trembling fingers reaching for the hem of my clothes, only to freeze in midair, too afraid to touch me. Zhu Qing. Her tears fell in heavy drops onto the carpet, her voice utterly broken. I was wrong. I was truly wrong. Please, yell at me. Please, hit me. Just do not look at me like that. I stood up, looking down at the woman I once had worshipped like a goddess. There was no anger, no heartache, only a dead, barren emptiness. Liu Ruyan, take your tears and get the hell out of Shen Group. I tossed out those words coldly, then turned toward the floor-to-ceiling window, never looking back. In the conference room behind me, only Liu Ruyan's heartbroken sobs remained, echoing through the cold air for a long time. She had brought this upon herself, and now she would face the consequences. This absurd farce had finally come to an end. But what she owed me was only beginning to be repaid. The celebration banquet was electric. Shen Xingyu held a glass of burgundy and came over to me. She lightly clinked glass against mine. She lowered her voice, her tone casually teasing. Latest news. Liu Group stock hit its daily limit down today. I heard Liu Ruyan could not handle the blow and collapsed in her office this afternoon. An ambulance took her to a private, the hospital's VIP ward. Her 104-degree fever will not break. My hand paused slightly around my glass. Then I drained it without expression. Shen Xingyu. Other people's family matters are none of our concern. I set down my glass. My tone as cold as if discussing the weather. At 11 that night, the business dinner finally ended. The moment I stepped outside the hotel, a violent gust of wind and rain lashed against me. Rainy nights in the city always carried a bone-chilling cold. I declined the driver's offer and took a cab back to my upscale downtown apartment. The elevator doors slowly opened on the 28th floor. The voice-activated lights came on. The instant I stepped out, my feet froze. At the end of the hallway, in front of my apartment security door, a dark figure was curled up. As I approached, my breath caught for half a second. It was Liu Ruyan. She was soaked to the bone. Her once impeccably groomed long hair hung in clumps like dead grass, stuck to her paper-white face. She wore only a thin, blue and white striped hospital gown, loosely wrapped in a black trench coat, completely drenched by the rain. But her right hand was the most jarring sight. The medical tape on its back had peeled away, and the needle mark from her removed intravenous line was seeping vivid crimson blood, mixed with the icy rain, and spread across her pale hand, leaving a large, horrifying expanse of red swelling and bruises. Hearing my footsteps, she jerked her head up. Those eyes, once forever aloof, cold and proud, were now bloodshot. She was like a stray cat abandoned by the world, dying in the torrential rain, her whole body trembling uncontrollably. Qing. When she saw me, her empty eyes instantly lit up with a feverish, manic fervor. Her voice rasped like sandpaper. She struggled to stand, but the fever and utter weakness made her legs give out. She dropped heavily to her knees at my feet. Without a care for anything else, she lunged at me, clutching the leg of my suit pants tightly. Tears burst forth like a flood. They mingled with the rain on her face. Qing. I'm so cold. There was no one in the hospital room. It was terrifyingly quiet. She looked up at me, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Her voice carried a suffocating despair. I looked at that empty hospital room, and all I could think about was you. I remembered the contract we signed. The first clause clearly said I was not allowed to cry alone late at night. She bit down hard on her pale lips, trembling even more violently. But you weren't there anymore. No one would ever again bring me a warm glass of milk at midnight. Qing. I'm really going crazy. I pushed the doctor away, ripped out my intravenous line, and ran here. I was scared. I was scared that if I came one moment later, I would lose you forever. She had humbled herself into the dust, her forehead nearly pressed to my dress shoes. Large tears struck the hallway tiles. I looked down at her. I had to admit, seeing that once untouchable ice-cold goddess, ready to risk her life for me, and groveling in the mud, sent a sharp stab of pain through my heart. But that pain lasted less than a second before the humiliation of the past 3 years and the icy numbness built up over 3 years crushed it completely. Are you done? I looked at her, my voice devoid of warmth. Liu Ruyan went rigid. She looked up at me through tear-filled eyes, her gaze full of pleading. Qing. I truly know I was wrong. Guzi blinded me. I was stupid. I was blind. Please come back to me. As long as you come back, I'll give you half of Liu Group's shares. No, you can have all of them. Please, don't abandon me. I slowly crouched down, meeting her tear-streaked face at eye level. Liu Ruyan. I reached out and gripped the wrist that clutched my pant leg. Then, with all my strength, one by one, I pried her cold, stiff fingers open. Qing. Don't push me away. Her eyes widened in terror. She desperately tried to hold on, but she was no match for my unyielding grip. Don't use that loving look of yours to disgust me again. I violently flung her hand away and stood. I looked down at her from above, my eyes holding nothing but impenetrable ice. When I laid my heart bare and offered it to you, you found it an eyesore, then turned to protect those to vipers. Now you have nothing left. Now that no one is there to wait on you, you came running back to cry to me. That's not it. I really do love you. Qing. I love you, she screamed in despair, reaching for my leg again. I stepped back, avoiding her touch. Love. I gave a cold laugh, as though I had heard the greatest joke in the world. Liu Ruyan, I will not be anyone's second choice. I stared into her eyes, pronouncing her death sentence one word at a time. Your devotion came too late, and it is far too cheap. With that, I turned and pressed my fingerprint to the key padlock. With a beep, the lock released. Qing, don't go. She cried my name behind me in anguish, her voice heart-wrenching. Without mercy, I shut the door, sealing away her cries and regrets, along with that cold, torrential rain, forever outside my world. The next morning, sunlight pierced through days of gloom. I had just entered my director's office at Shen Group, when Xingyu pushed open the door and came in. Today, she wore a sharp, custom-made white suit. She held to elegant envelopes, radiating a confident, commanding energy. Did you sleep well last night? I heard a stray cat was howling outside your door half the night. In the end, building management had to call an ambulance to take it away. Xingyu walked to my desk, a teasing smile playing on her lips. I shook my head helplessly. President Shen's information network is more terrifying than an intelligence agency. Don't call me President Shen. It's too formal. Xingyu suddenly put aside her usual forcefulness, her gaze turning serious and fervent. She slid the 2 envelopes toward me. Qing, the Southside Development Project is secure. Next, Shen Group is preparing to enter overseas markets. Our first stop is Wall Street. These are the first-class tickets to New York next week. I was briefly taken aback, then looked up at her. What do you mean by this? Exactly what it sounds like. Xingyu braced both hands on the desk, her burning gaze fixed on me, openly revealing the predatory intensity and admiration in her eyes. Qing, I admire your abilities, but I admire you even more for who you are. Come to America with me. Together, we'll build an even greater empire. She paused, her red lips parted. If you're willing, we can be more than partners. I would rather have you board that plane as my boyfriend. She had formally confessed her feelings to me. There was no testing the waters, no coy hesitation, only the most direct, an open invitation between adults. I looked at the tickets on the desk and fell silent. What I did not know was that this bombshell news, by Xingyu's deliberate arrangement, grew wings in less than an hour and spread through the entire business world. Outside the intensive care unit at City Central Hospital, Liu Ruyan, her fever only just broken and an oxygen mask over her face, from her red-eyed assistant, heard the news. President Liu. Director Zhu is going to America with President Shen. I heard President Shen, this morning, formally confessed her feelings to him. The last trace of life in Liu Ruyan's eyes seemed to drain away in an instant. The lines on the heart monitor spiked wildly, but only seconds later, a terrifying, all-or-nothing madness blazed fiercely in her eyes. She ripped the oxygen mask from her face, ignoring the intravenous needle newly inserted in the back of her hand, and abruptly sat up. With nowhere left to turn, she decided to make one final gamble, staking everything she owned and her very life. I accept. I looked at the 2 first-class tickets on the desk. To New York, finally breaking the office's 3-minute dead silence. I raised my head and looked straight into Xingyu's predatory eyes. My voice was so calm that even I was surprised. President Shen, Wall Street is a battlefield. I'll fight it with you. Xingyu froze slightly. Then a dazzling smile curved across her lips. She walked over to me, extended a slender finger, and lightly tapped my chest. Qing, I was right about you. Now that you've decided to let go, make a clean break. The flight leaves at 3 this afternoon. Go home and pack. I'll send a car for you. I nodded, then turned and left. The past 3 years had been like an absurd dream. I had used all my strength to warm a block of ice, only to give myself frostbite. Now, the dream was over. It was time for me to move on too. At 1 that afternoon, a black Maybach arrived right on time, outside my apartment building, carrying a single suitcase. I opened the door and got in. Xingyu reclined against the leather seat, a glass of champagne in her hand, her eyes fixed on the live news playing on the car screen. Looks like your former boss put on quite a show today. Without looking back, she turned up the volume. On the screen was the first floor lobby of Liu Group, where a press conference was underway. Liu Ruyan was not wearing her usual, exquisite designer gowns. Instead, she wore a simple black suit. She wore no makeup, and her face was still pale from her recent illness. But her gaze was as sharp as a freshly honed blade. Members of the press, thank you for your time today. I have 2 announcements to make. Liu Ryan's voice rang through the hall over the microphone, cold and hard, without a word wasted. Former Liu Group project manager Guzi and employee Lin Xiaoxiao are suspected of embezzlement and selling the company's core trade secrets. 10 minutes ago, the police opened a case and arrested the 2 at the airport as they prepared to flee the country. Every piece of irrefutable evidence has been handed over to the authorities. Those 2 will spend the rest of their lives in prison. The reporters below erupted at once. Camera flashes went wild. I stared at the screen, my heart involuntarily skipping a beat. Guzi and Lin Xiaoxiao had been arrested. She had truly been ruthless enough to do it. But then, Liu Ryan dropped a second bombshell. The second matter. Liu Ryan braced both hands on the podium, her eyes fixed directly on the camera, as though she were looking at someone through the screen. I hereby announce, effective immediately, I resign from all my duties as president of Liu Group. All Liu Group shares under my name will be donated in full to the City Charity Foundation without compensation. The entire hall fell dead silent. Even the seasoned reporters gasped in shock. From this moment on, I leave with nothing. The glory and disgrace of Liu Group have nothing to do with me, Liu Ryan, anymore. With that, she ignored the frenzied reporters and microphones rushing toward her, pushed past the security guards, and strode out of the press conference. Click. Shen Xingyu turned off the screen, then turned to me, wearing a faint, unreadable smile. Ruthless enough to put those 2 vipers behind bars, and paid a steep price herself, leaving with nothing. She's offering you proof of her loyalty. I leaned back against the seat, forcibly suppressing the turmoil in my heart. I closed my eyes. Drive faster. Don't let us miss the flight. Shen Xingyu gave a soft laugh and stepped on the gas. At 2:30 that afternoon, in the International Departures Hall, the announcements repeatedly urged passengers bound for New York to board as soon as possible. Shen Xingyu and I walked side by side across the gleaming marble floor. Less than 50 meters remained to security. Qing, an utterly anguished cry, suddenly tore through the airport's bustle. I stopped dead and turned around. The crowd was violently shoved aside. Liu Ryan was sprinting toward me like a madwoman. She had even lost one of her shoes. Her pale bare foot struck the cold, hard tiles. Loose gravel had cut glaring streaks of blood across it, leaving shocking bloody footprints behind. Her hair was a complete mess, and her dark suit jacket was covered in dust. There was even a clear scrape on her forehead, apparently from crashing while racing here. You can't leave. She lunged at me, blocking the way between me and security. She gasped desperately for air, her eyes so red they seemed ready to bleed. I looked at the utterly disheveled woman before me, my tone hard as iron. Liu Ryan, the show's over. You've had your revenge. What are you still doing here? I don't want anything anymore. She howled in despair, tears bursting from her eyes. I don't want the company. I don't want the money. I don't want my status either. I sent them to prison. I got justice for you. What else do you want from me? That's your business. It has nothing to do with me. I walked around her, pulling my suitcase as I kept walking. It does have something to do with you. Liu Ryan spun around, her hands trembling, and pulled a sheet from her inner pocket. It was a neatly folded sheet of A4 paper, the original relationship contract. It still bore the 2 clauses I had personally written as addendums back then, before Shen Xingyu and me. She gripped the paper's edges with both hands. With a crisp rip, the white sheet tore cleanly in 2, then into 4 pieces, then 8. She tore at it frantically, until that contract, which carried 3 years of humiliation and degradation, was shredded to pieces. Then she hurled the scraps into the air. The white fragments were like a belated snowfall, covering her shoulders and falling at my feet. Her knees gave way, and she dropped straight to her knees before me. The contract is gone. She looked up, clinging desperately to my leg, weeping as though her heart were breaking, lowering herself into the dust. I'm no longer your employer, and you're no longer my substitute. Qing, I have nothing left. You're all I have. People streamed through the airport hall, with countless eyes fixed on us. Yet she seemed beyond all shame. Before, you came toward me, step by step, enduring endless wrongs, and every kind of hardship. She pressed her face against my suit pants, her voice ragged beyond recognition. Now, let me spend the rest of my life walking toward you. Please, Qing. Give me a chance. Let me get to know you again. Will you? I froze where I stood, staring into her eyes, brimming with despair and pleading. It felt as though my heart had been struck by a sledgehammer. The fortress I had sealed in ice with my own hands, at that moment, came crashing down. Xingyu stood to one side, quietly watching it all unfold. She looked at the woman kneeling on the floor, Ruyan, who had abandoned everything, then at my hand gripping the suitcase handle, so hard that my knuckles had turned white. Then suddenly, Xingyu gave a gracious smile. She removed her gold-rimmed glasses and slipped them into her pocket. She walked over to me and gave my shoulder a firm pat. Enough, Zhu King. Stop pretending. Xingyu's voice carried the ease and clarity of someone from the highest circles. Your eyes don't lie. Your heart was never getting on that plane with me. Xingyu, never force anyone to stay. And I don't need a soulless shell. I turned to her in astonishment. President Shen. Go. Xingyu gave a dashing wave, pulled up her suitcase, and turned toward security. Without looking back, she called out, Don't leave regrets behind. I'll take on Wall Street myself. As for you, settle your emotional debts first. Watching Xingyu walk away so freely, I drew a deep breath. The boulder that had weighed on my chest for 3 years finally fell away. I lowered my head. Ruyan was still kneeling there, trembling all over. She looked at me, her eyes full of fear, terrified I would walk through security the next second. I suddenly released my suitcase. With a bang, it crashed heavily to the floor. I bent down, seized her wrist, and yanked her up from the cold floor. Then I pulled her fiercely into my arms. There was not the slightest gap between us. Ruyan, you brought this on yourself. I gritted my teeth, lowered my head, and fiercely kissed her trembling lips. Her body went rigid. Then she broke into the sobs she had held back for so long. She rose onto her toes, wrapping both arms tightly around my neck. Like a drowning person finally clutching driftwood, she returned my kiss desperately without holding anything back. Gasps and applause erupted around us. Over the terminal speakers, the flight to New York had stopped boarding. But my flight, after 3 years of turbulence and storms, had finally landed safely on the runway that was meant for me.